Hello, and welcome back to my small part of the universe. My name is Hailstone. Today we continue into our adventures of this second cycle, and we will be looking at a new variant of the Mudraptor, the ancient Mudraptor. Now please, sit back, relax, and let us begin. Well, I should have guessed after seeing the Ancients' modified endworm that they would also extensively modify other denizens of the European biosphere, and the one we are set to discuss is the one that we have heavily covered before, the Mudraptor, though in this case, a slightly bigger one. Recently, our journeys have brought us to the European Ridge once more, and so far, one not all too different from the last one I remember. Though I definitely remember less of these super colonies, as it were, these massive nests of mudraptors, threshers, and even husks take up entire areas equivalent to a standard human colony on Europa, and apparently have caused the Coalition and Separatists so much trouble that they have full bona fide military forces and blockades dedicated to dealing with these massive gatherings of native life. Though I thought, if anything, one thing that would stay the same would be the alien ruins. Oh, how wrong I was. At first, it seemed like it would just be a typical securing the ruins and disabling the pods for scientific research. At least, that's how I thought it was going to start. Though, as we approached the ruins, just as the submarine stopped, some member of my crew used our topside flat cannon to rip into the side of the ruins. And before any reprimand could be given, a strange mudraptor came screaming out of the ruins and ripped its way into the submarine. Though, thankfully, due to its large size, the mudraptor became stuck, leading to an easy disposal of the creature. Now, this ancient mudraptor, if you will, is a modified member of the mudraptor species, possibly taken from a mature stock of a mudraptor that was a fully armored adult, as the posture and coloration of the ancient mudraptor's shell isn't shared with mudraptors that have lived long enough to become classified as veterans. The most telling distinction for this are the tall-tale markings of the vestigial eyes on the mudraptor veteran, simply not being present on the ancient mudraptor's shell. Speaking of the shell of a regular mudraptor, they are taut and rigid and tamed and tailored over years of constant growth to protect the crucial areas of a mudraptor's body, to give it a chance to survive against Europa's other life forms, in addition to keeping their jaws nice and sharp. Now, the ancient mudraptor shares its general body shape with its unmodified origin, but its size and armor vary from its cousins. The ancient mudraptor is closer in size to the veterans of the species, though its shell and markings match none of those that mudraptor veterans are known by. Unlike the rigid defensive shells of the standard mudraptor, the ancient's armor is incredibly smooth, almost streamlined, nearly appearing as it was made from some form of strange metal. Yet the old shell can still be seen in some places, just neatly put together by some gentle hand. Though by whatever process these ancient mudraptors gained their shells, it is indeed far from perfect, as despite the overall appearance of perhaps genetically engineered armor, there are places on its shell that are warped, misaligned, or even melted. In fact, the ancient mudraptor completely lacks armor on its tail compared to the regular and mudraptor veterans. Ripping away the shell of the ancient mudraptor shows a relatively similar body to the standard mudraptor, ribbed with sinewy-like muscles running down the body, but there is something starkly different about the head of the creature, most notably its eye. Typical mudraptors have either whited out or vestigial eyes, while the ancient mudraptor seems to have a particular portion of its head scooped out and replaced with a polished, glass-like compound eye. I am uncertain as to how this affects the ancient mudraptor, aside from perhaps being able to tell the differences in light better, if that's even the purpose it serves. While observing the ancient mudraptor, I can't help but feel that the creature was perhaps only a partial interest or side experiment of the ancients. Perhaps its modifications didn't live up to the hopes of the ancients, or simply didn't get any further than the prototype phase, and was quickly relegated to the defense of ancient outposts as a method to further deter native fauna, though its implementation was not smooth from what I can tell, as while it seems to cooperate with most of the ruin's security systems, it seems to have a few issues with humanoid-esque mechanical beings that seem to smack it if it passes by them. On some level, I am curious on these strange humanoids, though that is a subject for another time. When removed from its ruined setting, the ancient Mudraptor proves quite aggressive to most other fauna, especially to other Mudraptors, who will flee on the spot if they notice an ancient Mudraptor, and for good reason. As you know, Mudraptors are apex predators in their own right, with their jaws able to rip through steel and flesh with ease, and the ancient Mudraptor embodies this to a much greater extent. From what I have witnessed, once an ancient Mudraptor has a regular one in its jaws, it takes little more than 2 shearing bites to kill a fully armored Mudraptor, one to break the armor, and the other to shear apart the spongy flesh. Strangely, despite being modified by the ancients extensively, their hunger or appetite as predators was either left intact or simply never changed, as ancient Mudraptors will ravenously tear away at a corpse, consuming all flesh and gear that it can, despite the fact that it just may not need to. Considering both the availability and unaging traits of the ancient Mudraptor, I am led to believe that the ancient Mudraptors are regularly replaced with a fresh stock, though I highly doubt that the ancients have some form of Mudraptor hatchery, so to speak, where they pick the nastiest and most cuddly ones that they can. More than likely, the ancient Mudraptors are grown from a precise genetic template, though probably a prototype, as their overall abilities barely pass from being a simple enhanced Mudraptor. The ancient Mudraptor ultimately represents a interesting insight to the ancients of this second cycle. They seem to be more technologically intrusive on the local environment, as well as having strange humanoid beings that also guard the ruins, increasing their security. It makes me wonder if they had any form of early interaction with humanity, or if the ruins themselves are watching us more than we know, and are responding to us in kind for ransacking many of these old havens, which I guess in some vein would be deservingly so. On one last note before we end this particular discussion, I would like to say, as I venture deeper into this version of Europa, I have begun to notice that there are Mudraptor swarms that seem to include the ancient Mudraptor. As of this point in time, I am unsure why. I just felt like it would need to be included here on some level. Thank you for watching another one of my videos, and as you can see, I'm in the process of developing a new overlay for most of my future videos. What you see right now is merely a proof of concept, so to speak, and I am getting a better one made by someone who has far more artistic skills than I do. So until next time, have a great and safe week.